China is now the #1 biopharmaceutical innovator. In the span of 10 years, 2016 to 2046, China went from producing no novel drugs to ever. Both OpenAI and Anthropic really would like to buy up practically every part of any ecosystem, like the healthcare ecosystem, is biotech. AGI, which I think will basically make everything irrelevant.
Welcome to another episode of PostAGI podcast. I'm your co-host Shavik and Sriram.
Nice to meet you guys.
Thanks for coming to the show.
Thank you.
One of the things, so this is one of the topics that you are talking about in this manifest is about open science and specifically pertaining to the biotech and the geopolitical scenario around that. Would love to hear a succinct description of your thoughts on that.
Oh boy. I mean, so when it comes to open science, very generally, I believe that needs to be, we're nowhere near the point where we are actually open. Most papers still don't provide all the data. They don't provide as much of the code as they can. If they can't provide the actual data itself for privacy reasons, they'll provide a redirect, so they'll provide anything you really need. You can't reproduce anything. You can't actually make anything happen again.
This goes to the reproducibility crisis in science that's going on.
Yes. And there are separate reproducibility and replicability crises. So you have reproducibility where you can't actually get the exact same experiment with their data to run again. So say somebody gives you this file. It says, we ran this regression with these X and Y here. And they got, a correlation of 0.5. You run it again. You're like, well, I can only get a correlation of 0.3. This is odd. I can't reproduce your result. That's the reproducibility crisis. And it's quite bad. It's something like 40% of papers in the social sciences cannot be reproduced from their own data. So you have their data, you run what should ostensibly be their code or might actually be their code, and you get a different result. Something is up. Replicability is where you try and run the same experiment again. You try and get a new sample and you try and see are X and Y related at 0.5. And if it turns out the answer is no, they're negatively correlated. If there's no correlation or whatever, it's much, much less, then that's the replicability issue. They haven't replicated the thing. It's quite worse.
So one example could be that cold fusion incident from 1980s, late 1980s. That's a replicability crisis, right?
That might be a fraud thing. It'd be a little worse. In some cases, like most cases, just like they're sloppy. And that's not good scientists. But in some cases, they just make stuff up. And that's when it gets really bad. A lot of the replicability crisis is due to fraudulent work or just negligent work.
Mm-hmm.
So like often enough, say you do like a power analysis before, you're trying to figure out how large my experiment could be. How many times do I need to replicate this result in the lab before I can get, 80% power is see whatever effect I'm expecting at a time. And they go, I'm going to see this huge effect size. No, you're not. He didn't have fire on that. He didn't actually, say you think you're going to see an effect size like D equals 0.2 or something like that. Or sorry, 2, like a huge one. They weren't going to see it. They put on the wrong thing. They did power analysis wrong. Their experiment is wrong. They specified it's really underpowered for the reality that they're actually going to approach. And they end up with a result that is worthless. And worthless results dominate the literature.
Yeah.
Tons of things don't make sense from a design perspective. And also don't make sense from a measurement perspective. So like in psychology and the social sciences generally, you're often measuring like a proxy for a thing. Like, you have games. You want to you're playing like the dictator game or ultimatum game or like all these things like, economic games. Where you're distributing resources. Often enough, those games are pretty poor proxies for real world behavior. People don't actually act like they do in those games. Even if they reach the game theoretic, expected result and actually delivered or something like that, then it doesn't actually play out in the real world. There's
is that specifically the stakes there of these games are like you just give $5 cards?
No, or just different liquid blanks. It's not the same. There was actually a famous experiment back in the day. Not experiment. It was an observation back in the day in 1934. This guy, he sent around a lot of surveys. This is when they had the Asian Exclusion Act stuff in the U.S. And he asked those establishments, restaurants, these diners, tins, hey, I'm bringing these 2 Chinese exchange students with me. Will you let us in? And they go, almost universally, no. They just say, we're not letting Asians in. It's not happening. And then they go to the actual place and they just serve them. And it's like, there's no actual issue. There's no correspondence between what they're saying and what they're actually doing. So they say, I'm never going to serve them. And then you get to the actual place, they're like, nice to meet you. Good customer. I'll take your money. And then it just happens. And there are all sorts of reasons for these disconnects that are just all over the place.
So isn't there a distinction between doing experiments in social science and in science like physics and chemistry? So in social science, you can't replicate the the same experiment. It's one time
Yep.
you do. It's like policy making. You can't replicate or try out so many policies, right? It's just you have to simulate. Think, oh, this will if we do this, it will happen. But in natural sciences like chemistry, you can do experiments multiple
Yes.
times and get. Isn't that so? Are you
There's a big gap.
there are big gaps? So it seems like social science is much harder problem to solve this reproducibility and replicability, because you can't even replicate the policy that you are making because the environment might have changed. In that's the case when you are doing.
Yeah, I mean, this is the wild thing though. Even in the hard sciences, there's a huge replicability as it gives you. For example, in oncology, almost all the lab experiments cannot be reproduced. Bayer did this great, the pharmaceutical company did this thing where they looked at papers in biology and they tried to reproduce their results because it'd be, drug relevant. They're trying to develop drugs. They want to make money. They want to go out and like help people.
Yeah.
And they rely on academia to produce reliable experiments that, produce results that are consistent over time and allow them to do the drug development. They go replicate and almost everything fails. It's just a total mess. And they're like, oh my God, we really can't rely on academia at all to produce things that are reproducible, even when they should be. You're using the same cell lines, using the same reagents, using the same everything, and nothing goes right. And it's baffling. I mean, this even happens in chemistry somehow. Like with chemical experiments, somehow interaction should be the same every time.
Right.
Yet the issue persists.
Is it because of the human element is there? Or so, for example, if you convert most of the human element into autonomous labs, the robots are doing these experiments. Can you remove this replicability crisis in chemistry? At least drug discovery.
I suppose you might be able to, but they're also, the instruments are imperfect. We need better measurement reliability. I suspect that if you automated everything, you would substantially reduce the replicability issues. And if you could transfer an automated protocol to another lab, they'd probably be able to replicate more reliably. I assume this. We'll have data on this in like a year or two. There are companies doing this. There are a lot of companies predicated on the idea that we have a bench, and the bench will automatically run everything.
Yeah.
No grad students in the loop.
Yeah.
Get them out of there because you don't want people manually pipetting it.
Yeah.
We're done with that. We want robots to do it. It's so much more efficient, so much faster. It's so much nicer to do. And I think that'll help a lot. I still don't know if we're still getting these.
If it doesn't replicate across 2 cloud labs, for example, then you get a similar problem.
Yeah. Then you got some real issues going.
The open science, I think, we started going down the thing and then we were talking a lot about repeatability. What is your broader position on what sets of things do we need to actually get to a much more open science? Start with the contention that science is a long way to go before it is open. We are worried on the other side that even the existing levels of openness will get constricted by things like AI labs wanting to vertically integrate science into their
and they definitely do. I mean, both OpenAI and Anthropic really would like to buy up practically every part of any ecosystem, like the healthcare ecosystem is biotech. It's the essence of it. You are actually trying to make a drug, you put it out there, you're trying to get AGI, you're trying to do whatever you want to do. It's all integrated. If you really want to actually take most advantage of it, you probably do have to vertically integrate. And you have to capture everything there is. That's going to be rough. And I mean, by nature, it'll be winner take all, I think, because the doctors will just use, right now they use open evidence as their LLM of choice. It's not going to do that. One of the frontier labs will probably swoop in and take up, 70% of doctors so right away. If they really want to. They could try it. And it's possible. I think they can actually do it. And then they capture everything. Horizontal elimination. And then what do you even do? It's what the doctors prefer to use. It's the tool they like. You can't just take this away from them. It's going to be a tricky battle. And I'm not sure where it'll go.
Well, okay. That's a prediction.
We're at a prediction market conference. We can predict things. I think it'll be pretty bad.
I think all of us have predictions on why it's going to be bad. I think we just differ on what is going to be bad. We all have different things we're predicting. But this one, I think, is exactly matches what our own motivating substrate is. We're very worried about the concentration risk of vertical integration and how do you build open networks that can actually create more, for example, open agentic research is what we call it, many people coming together and doing this. We had a pretty fun recent example of Google had a major quantum circuit breakthrough, how to build a algorithm. They did not publish it, and it was under a ZK proof. They created a zero knowledge cryptographic tools that shows that they had a result, but they didn't release it. What we did is we took that verifier, which is used to create the zero knowledge proof, but they have to publish. We take that and say, like, use a bunch of agents to, and an open network where anybody can contribute, collaborate, and exchange agentic notes.
Did you reconstruct it?
Completely beat the hell out of it. And it's not just recover the result, which is a 10x improvement in state of the art, but also like beat Google's result by like 50% already. So, the thing that I think we're very excited about is that the frontier of intelligence is jagged still.
Absolutely.
Even just small prompts, small like ways in which you can concatenate intelligence. How do you optimize for a unit dollar? Research is one of those things where you can throw infinite dollars into it and still productive. Mm-hmm. So if you can optimize like price performance by mixing and matching like a high power AI, a low power AI, right combinations.
This goes into the recent discussion on the routing, right? You want to have the productive output token per unit dollars.
Yeah.
So in research, that's very relevant.
Yeah.
So that is what like we observe in the network is people have their own different diverse and pluralistic ways of doing research. It was pretty interesting to see that. And, our hope is we and others will build networks like that, where many people can participate in the open, collaborate, coordinate, and produce similar results without having to rely on it.
It's interesting. I just think the ecosystem in healthcare and biotech just naturally kind of lends itself to vertical integration, unfortunately. I mean, so in healthcare, there's a huge vertical integration issue that comes from the fact of profit cap. Profit cap on insurers on the health insurance side. Are you familiar with how health insurance works in the U.S.?
Very little.
Nobody really is. It's still, it's just like 7 different systems. They're like, three of them. We'll see right over go to, normal plans.
Yeah.
So for a normal plan, normal marketplace plan, your insurer will have to spend 85% of the premium to bring it. That's 80 or 90%, usually 85, thereabouts. And that means that they have to profit through increasing premiums. So they push up the prices and they can take the same portion. You got to take the same portion, or they can buy up everyone else in the ecosystem. They can buy up the pharmacies, the pharmacy benefit managers, the hospitals. They can buy up every little part of the healthcare world and then charge their own rates to themselves, pay themselves through a subsidiary, and they do transfer pricing. So if I'm the hospital over here and I'm also the insurer over here and I charge you $1 million, well, okay, I'm paying it. And then I'm, going to profit in the year. It's going to show up on my balance sheet. So that's my subsidiary go through. That hospital.
It's just paying yourself.
Exactly. So all the prices in the healthcare system in the U.S. are just fake as can be. Because why would you pay a real price when you want to pay yourself pretty good? No, you got to pay yourself anything you can.
Is this already happening, or is
It's already happening? It's been happening since 2014.
Oh wow!
What changed in 2014? Was there some kind of?
It was the implementation of the medical loss ratios with Obamacare.
Okay.
Yeah, part of the ACA.
I see.
It was a really, really devastating part of it. It encouraged massive vertical integration, and it reduced the number of insurers that come into the market every year. So the number of new insurers created immediately, because what company is going to get founded in a space where you have to spend 85% of your cash on hand? Not a good investment.
So you have insurers, providers, and these biotech labs like Pfizer and so on. Are you saying these three layers will vertically integrate?
I don't think the actual discovery will vertically integrate until we take advantage of America's electronic health record systems. So once we start having everybody gets sequenced, everybody gets, they're linked to their healthcare data. Yes. Suddenly that data is going to be the thing that drives tech progress in biotech. And because of this, you're going to end up with a situation where, the drug discovery will probably be done through an intermediary, but by the insurer. It's effectively going to be, the whole unless this changes. And the MLRs should be changed. These loss ratios are just a terrible, terrible idea that encourages exactly this. And they encourage everybody to silo the data as much as they can, keep away from somebody else, charge for access, just make a total mess. They're encouraged to make a mess. I mean, everybody loves making a mess. Like prescription drug manufacturers love to mess up generic drug entry because they don't want generic drugs because those are nice and cheap and they want high prices for themselves. Everybody has an incentive to mess everything up. It'll just, I think, eventually get very bad with data. Big data comes into play.
That's super, it's scary. You also are thinking a lot about the geopolitics of this science. Can you state your position?
Yeah.
What you discovered?
So there is discovery happening everywhere, the whole world over. You can go from Beijing to Washington and you'll find like discoveries. But recently, the epicenter of this has moved towards China. China is now the #1 biopharmaceutical innovator. Now, we're giving a presentation on this in about a few hours. And I mean, the gist of it is, in the span of 10 years, just 10 years, 2016 to 2046, China went from producing no novel drugs ever that are real drugs. Like, obviously, that's a bullshit, traditional Chinese medicine stuff.
Or maybe they used to copy the drugs in
Yes.
the West.
And they've done lots of copy.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about the presentation. They don't do the copy. They do copy still, but also we're copying Chinese drugs now. We it's insane. The situation is now America is often copying China because they're innovating, they're pushing ahead. And they basically did two things. They deregulated at a massive, massive scale. So they've done hundreds of little tweaks that make their system much more efficient than our system, than any system, much more efficient than Europe's, which is more regulated than the US's. So one of my favorite ones is, and I'll mention this in the talk, it's really good. You guys ever had to have a study reviewed by institutional review board, an ethics board? It sucks. It's really bad. They take a long time. You can spend 18 months waiting for your trials. Yeah. They can be a hellish experience.
Yeah.
Nobody really likes going through an IRB,
Yeah.
but you have to because the law says so. In China, they have IRBs as well, but they resolve the issue for multi-site trials. What they do is they go, hey, if one site of your trial, one hospital, one place to clinic that they got you drugs, if one of them gets an IRB approved to run the experiments, everybody else inherits the permission. It's simple.
So it's like a class action permission.
There you
That's
go.
what it is.
Exactly right. Yeah. And in the US, every site has to get permission to run the trial.
Right.
You can't start.
Yeah.
And the different IRBs, different hospitals could be horribly misaligned. Sometimes a person on an IRB just doesn't like you. They'll say, no, you can't do any science. You're not allowed to run a trial. No profits for you. No, you're not going to help that company. And spite plays a role. And it's really absurd. You can actually wait 2 years to get a trial even going. And by that time, your potential patients could have just died. It's a very bad situation. And they've done lots of reforms in this. They've managed to rationally design a system of regulations, and they're improving it all the time, that is fast, that is reliable, that interrogates fraud, it actually prosecutes it and whatnot. They also bring in talent. Everything on the Dallas and Talents program. They bring in ethnically Chinese people across the world who've been educated in the US, educated in Europe, and they bring them back to China. And they give them great job offers to tell them, oh, we're going to help you with this or that, provide you capital, we'll let you do whatever. Give us a proposal. And we will help you make that happen. And then they do. It's going great. And then the other thing, the really, really big thing, is they figured out how to pay people. So America is 4% of the world population, thereabouts, 13% of the total drug volume purchased, but by sales volume, it's 1.5. America buys more than half the drugs in terms of dollar value. It's got high prices and high volumes.
Yeah.
We produce and consume so much. And that means that the trials follow what America needs. It's good for America. Because you want everybody doing trials, trying to bring drugs to market that are good for your people.
Yeah.
If your population has a high rate of NSCLC, non-small cell lung cancer, well, you would love for there to be a bunch of companies working on non-small cell lung cancer.
Yeah.
And this happens. When Americans introduced Medicare, Medicaid back in the civil rights era in the 67s, all that, and they were expanding programs out, there was a big boost to the number of trials being done in the areas that were being, paid for by Medicare, Medicaid services. And this continued. Where the money goes is where people decide to put in the research effort. And it's where they can get paid. Their research effort is more likely to get compensated in the areas with a lot of demand. China figured this out and actually exploited it, but they've done it better than anybody else. Whereas many European countries and Canada, they'll negotiate with drug manufacturers to lower the prices. They try and hurt profits in the company. They try and make it so you have to face a gamut. You want to stay in the country, keep selling your drugs. Either you want to go because you're going to face prices that are lower. You might have some peer comparison. It's just some countries will pay more than this country does or that country does. And China just said, no, don't worry about it. We're going to make you profitable. We're going to actually help your company profit. You're going to give us a much lower price, but we're going to push up your sales volume. And on net, the companies that China does this negotiation with, the RDL, there's just their drug negotiations, their drug list. They profit more from the negotiations. No other country makes them profit. This is the biggest.
So is this like in China's case, are you saying that the national government is negotiating with the other national governments, not the companies,
No, with the companies.
with the companies?
Yeah. With the companies.
And guaranteeing certain kinds of sales volumes so that,
What does guaranteeing a certain kind of sales volume? Like, is it
They're not guaranteeing it.
Oh.
They're attorney.
Yeah.
They love markets there. And they seem to really enjoy making things happen through market-based solutions. You wouldn't expect this for a nominally communist country, but
this is state-run
So-
capitalism?
yeah, it's capitalism with Chinese.
Yeah, right.
And it's a really wonderful thing they've done. We don't know if it'll last. We don't know if there's some flaw that we're not being able to see right now, but it is working incredibly well. They're negotiating to greatly lower the prices, and their government ends up paying less. People end up paying more out of pocket. The total health expenditures are still like lower because again, you're getting like access to good drugs. You don't need to go to the doctor's office if you're healthy. This helps to make population healthy. Somehow there are no spiller effects on the firms that aren't involved in negotiations that have sell drugs for similar indications, which is wild. Just I guess there's a healthcare is a superior good, so you can buy as much as you can supply. The old saying back in the day in the U.S. was from there's a health economist. I think his name was Kramer, if I remember correctly. He used to have inspired con laws. Do you know what these are?
no.
Certificate of Need laws. They're one of the worst laws in healthcare in the U.S. And you're gonna laugh at this. It's really absurd. You would think this is real. You can look it up. It's real. What they do is in a state with a con law, you have to, if you're going to open up a new clinic, a new practice, a new hospital, you have to ask everybody in the area you're going into, hey, do you have any demand you can't meet? And your competitors have to say, yeah, we need a new competitor in the area.
What is this? Insane. Wait, is this real?
It's real in the U.S., yes. It's in the majority of the states. They're appealing it slowly but surely.
But, I mean, it doesn't even make sense. Like, why was it created?
Well, the old adage was a hospital bed built is a hospital bed filled. If you build more healthcare resources, people will just use it. And this is going to be wasteful. And this was kind of like, Soviet inspired that we were big into central planning back in the day. And it's a horrible set of policies.
Yeah.
It's been devastating to the production of new healthcare. And hospitals that already exist love these laws. And oh, well, we need them to make sure the quality of care for the area is just so good. Well, wait, the quality of care will be higher if you have some competition. But they get to block it all. Sometimes let's say off a con board, and the board will be composed of here are potential competitors. And they could just say, no one met demand. We can totally handle everything here. No need to open a new hospital.
Yeah.
And no new hospital.
Wow.
Well, why has it been hard to repeal this, like archaic laws?
Well, because there are a lot of vested interests. I mean, the existing
The
hospitals,
lobbies.
yeah, the doctors love it. The existing hospitals love it. The hospital administrators love it. All these people will go to bat. They will come up and go, oh my God, if you get rid of these laws, patients will suffer. This will lower the quality, and there will be a race to the bottom, which is that term they love to use, which is always bullshit. If you're competing, you're probably going to be offering better services. And when they do open new hospitals, they say, oh, things get better. How could it happen again? Every single time, it seems. But their argument is always, oh no, we'll have to lower the quality of care. We'll have to put patients on the street. It's like, wait, why patients on the street? You're just lower your rates or something. But they have excuses and they have a vested interest. So there's a lot of opposition to getting it fixed.
In this race and like the particular dynamic you're pointing out, that region being now the center of the biotech innovation, do you have any proposals, specifically proposals? I'm sure there are proposals for regulation and like reducing regulation, but are there proposals which can be truly implemented by the free market without actually
Yes. So we as America has built several mechanisms to allow the free market to work in healthcare. We can deregulate, which is great. Deregulation is just a way to bring down your trial costs and everything because they're so expensive. Industry has spent like an average trial trial set to bring a drug through phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. It's $3.5 billion. The FDA is like, oh, it's $900 billion. But either way, these are huge figures.
Mm-hmm.
So no company wants to just willy-nilly spend on a trial because that's a lot of effort. Well, America made this wonderful thing called the ICH, the International Council on Harmonization, and it provides rules for doing trials across countries where you can import data from another country that ran a trial. So, for example, there's a company I know that I just toured in New York. They're working on hair products. They started a trial in India. They have 60 people, and it costs mere fractions of what it would cost in the U.S. And it's not officially like an NIH registered trial. It's a registered trial, and it is run in a standard way. And it'll help them to show that like the drug they're producing, which is a form of kind of slow release minoxidil, the hair growth product, can be used and tolerated without any sort of cardiac risk signal the current minoxidil has. It's very cool. And if we can import that data into the US, the mechanisms that the US doesn't use for, gets up with thalidomide. Okay, so back in the day, the FDA was still like, coming into fruition. There was a big crisis. This drug that was given to pregnant mothers in order to, stop miscarriages, was given out in Europe a lot. And they approved it there. The EMA was like, yeah, we're going to approve thalidomide. And what is it? Oh, it's teratogenic. It causes cancer. It's the babies get, and they die, or they, grow adenomas at the minimum when cancerous growths at the, largest. It's, bad. It's really bad. It killed a lot of babies. It was a terrible thing. And the FDA never approved it because we had a woman there, the FDA was a reviewer, and she goes, we're still missing clinical data. Why did you guys approve it? And Europe approved it and had a lot of babies die. And America did not approve it. We had some off-label usage, which also killed some American babies. But since then, the legacy of this has been that the FDA does not want to do reciprocity. We do not want to accept foreign data, even though America created a system to accept foreign data. We just don't want to do it. But if we did it, we'd open ourselves up to a world of data that's high quality. It's done with like other countries that are using our standards. They're running great stuff. Like you can go and monitor and see the whole thing. But we just don't accept our own data, which is a baffling situation.
So you mentioned a couple of ideas. Anything that can be, but both not singly government interaction. Are there like things that can be purely done on the free market?
Absolutely, more should. So there are some areas in healthcare that are actually fairly free. So plastic surgery is the big example here. Plastic surgery is an exceptionally free market where insurers really aren't involved. Because why would they pay for you to get like why would insurers pay for you to go get like fake apps put in or something?
Is that the case in South Korea also? Which is the
yeah. Well, actually, that's funny. Their government is about to start paying for hair loss treatments. So they're going to have some of that. It's part of their wacky plan to help with the fertility crisis. I mean, they really care about fertility. We're going to see them going, we're going to help you take off your scalp.
The second order consequence.
That's right. Well, we're going to fix your hair. You're going to look really great. And you're going to get a wife. And your wife is, I don't know why I'm doing this. This is a Korean accent, actually. It's well, you're going to get a wife and you're going to have babies. Boom. That's how you do it. And when it'll be very funny when they do this. I mean, people are going to rejoice because they're going to have a full head of hair. But I don't know if they're going to have very many more babies. Whatever. The only country I know that actually does have the right to a boob job is Brazil. It's not really the right to. But effectively, they can get it through the public healthcare system there very easily. And so a lot of them in there do have breast lifts, boob jobs, tummy tucks, the butt lifts, everything like that. Now, this market in the U.S. is incredibly regulated by comparison to everything else. So if you want to get like prescription drugs to save your life, you want to get a statin, you want to get an alpha blocker, you want to get a beta blocker, you want to get like some random drug to help you survive inflammation, your insurance is going to cover that because they're like, yeah, I don't want you to die. I would not like you to get heart attacks. So we'll give you the thing. Boom. For a plastic surgery, they're not going to give it to you. So it's cash. It's, comes out of your pocket. That's out of pocket spend. And out of pocket spend, nobody wants to pay super ridiculously high amounts. They're not paying $5,000 for a statin because of, no one would do that. It's just not worth it to the patient. Why would I ever want to pay so much? So there's cost control because patients are only willing to pay so much. There's an actual market that determines the prices. That leads to very low prices and leads to massive innovations too, because you can actually just strictly cash. So, like for example, boob tech, the tech for boob jobs has gotten much, much better recently. They've reduced the amount of scarring. They've reduced the size of the inlets to go into you to like put it in there. They can like do it up your armpit now and put a breast in there and then you recover in like 2 days. It's utterly insane how well they've advanced this field just because it's aligned with the markets. And more things should be like this. This is how China wants something. They want more stuff like this. Singapore used to be like the shining example of out-of-pocket spend, like cost containment and like bringing on the innovations that allow them to do this. But unfortunately, nobody actually wants to pay for that sort of stuff for actual necessary care. So over time, they converge back to the rest of the OECD. And now they're not an out-of-pocket spend outlier, unfortunately.
Got it. Fifth step. Yeah. So,
Yeah, one more question.
yeah, we do this.
We talked a lot about the biotech versus the open science. What is your prediction on the impact of AGI on this particular distribution that you're talking about, which is, on both these problems, on open science as well as on the geopolitics of biotech?
So I wanted to say there's two things. AGI, which I think will basically make everything irrelevant. Once we have AGI, I think we're going to see an explosion of intelligence. There'll be no issues really, like everything will be solved, and this will be all developed. But in the interim, before we get to AGI, we just have like AIs and increasingly capable, highly intelligent, and able to, work like a grad student or better. Those will have a not so market impact, unfortunately, because the pipeline for new drugs is relatively saturated. We have tons of ways of finding new drug targets, of validating them, of showing these are likely to work. And the issue is not so much the discovery, which is what AI would get into. It's the testing. Yeah. You still have to run the clinical trial. Yeah. And that takes time and money and interactions with patients. And the AI can't replace that. The AI can help the doctors go faster. Or it can help you set up a call center to call the patient to see if they're still alive and taking the drugs. But it can't replace the need to actually go out and do the trial.
So it seems like that means like the regulatory problems are going to be a big blocker in the way of which science. And maybe the prediction then is that a place like China, which has kind of figured out a sweet spot on this regulation, will massively accelerate ahead of us using the AI technology.
They also have their own AI technology. So it's not, they are dependent on that also.
Yeah. And I think they'll use it to accelerate the clinical trials even more, which is what America should be doing. Actually, one of the guys who introduced the FDA's AI for clinical trial acceleration came to this conference. He's here. You could talk to him. He's really cool. Ryan O'Shea is down there. Meet him later. It's very neat. We can do a lot with AI, but it's going to be, the limit is really still just going to be, you got to interact with the patients. You actually got to talk to someone today. You got to give them the drugs. You got to make them feel conditioned. You got to have some bedside manner. AI just doesn't do that yet.
So, on last one, man, the open science, the impact of AGI. So what's your...
Well, again, I think AGI will make it relevant. It'll be, change everything. AI will help in some ways. Do better document workflows. People are really sloppy. Their code is shit. Academics, you don't ever ask them to program it. Oh, God. Oh, they really are awful. They can't do a thing. Can't program themselves out of paperback. It's very, very bad. And AI radically improves that. The code quality for a lot of LLM products, some is not very good either, but it's very long. Oh my God.
It's very verbose.
Very verbose. Prolix, really.
Yeah.
It's insane, but it's better than what they were doing already. It'll help a lot there.
But there's one more thing, right? For example, in drug discovery, what works is the final thing. But before that, you have to do a lot of search space discovery.
Yep.
Which drug, which one gets fit with the other cells and all. AI can help in this expedited search discovery.
It could. But the issue is, you still have to show that your search methods work.
Yeah, right.
Which means doing the trials.
Yeah.
Well, we got to actually prove it first. And we're a few years away. But one day, I think it actually will work.
Amazing. Thanks for coming to the show. Really appreciate this discussion.
Thank you guys for having me on. A lot of fun.